to BigCountryPreps.com. I'm Evan Wren, and this is our Countdown to Two-A-Days series, our daily look at an area football team and the key questions we're going to be answering about that team in our Saturday, August 14th preseason preview here at Big Country Preps. I'm with my partner, Dan Youngblood, via Zoom, and tonight it's the final installment of our Countdown to Two-A-Days series because mañana Two-A-Days start, at least for the small schools. The smaller schools get it going tomorrow, and we'll be out taking photos all over the area. So tonight's the final installment, and we've got the Abilene Eagles.
We do, and I think this is going to be a fun team to watch. They took a big step forward last year, getting back to the playoffs and snapping a little bit of a postseason drought. And by the end of the year, they were playing really well. This was a team that gained a lot of confidence and kind of hit their stride late. And they got a bunch of kids back from that group, 33 total Letterman return, including 7 starters on both sides of the football. And they've got some key players. Abel Ramirez, who started at quarterback pretty much all year for him, is back after throwing for almost 2,000 yards. They got a very explosive running back into King Thomas, who got a lot of playing time last year in kind of a split role back there. Abel Ramirez was a 600-yard receiver. Anthony Ramirez was a 600-yard receiver. And so guys at each of the skill positions, and they've got some offensive linemen they can lean on as well. Zach Killam's a guy that got a lot of playing time for him. So they've got some kids on both sides of the football that have done important things for them. They are going to have some holes to fill. They lost a couple of really good receivers, particularly Jashari Houston, who had a monster year for him, who's headed to Tulsa, and then Frederick Pooh Johnson also had a nice year for him. So they will have some holes to fill, and they've got some guys to replace. But I think that just the confidence they gained last year, I think they gained some of that Abilene High swagger back last year. I think will carry over, and I expect them to have a very successful season.
All right, one question I would have about Abilene, they finished on a nice tear last year. They won 5 out of their last 6, so we're playing very well. Do they bring enough back to keep that momentum going in 2021?
Yeah, I think they do. I mean, when you look, anytime you're bringing back 7 starters back on both sides of the football, you got to feel pretty good about your experience level. And I think one thing, and I mentioned this earlier, that was really, really important was just a confidence level. I think when you miss the playoffs for 3 years in a row, your confidence gets challenged a little bit, because by that point you're talking about almost an entire class of kids who have not experienced a trip to the playoffs. Last year, they not only got that, they won 2 playoff games and were really very competitive in their third round game against Denton Guyer without their quarterback. That was a game where Abel Ramirez wasn't able to play, and they had to put a receiver, Jashari Houston, at quarterback. And that game was a competitive game into the fourth quarter. So I think one thing that was gained last year was just a level of confidence that I absolutely think will carry over, because a lot of those kids that are back are kids that did important things for that team, that won 5 games in a row after starting the season 0-3 and then 1-4. They go on a 5-game winning streak to get to the third round, lose their quarterback, and still manage to make it a good game out of against a very good Guyer team in the third round. So I think this team, one of the things that I've talked about in the past with Coach Fullen was that his big thing, he wanted to bring back that swagger, bring back that Abilene High pride and the attitude, and just get the program back to where it had been for so long. And I think they accomplished that last year. I think you'll see that from the start this year. I think you'll see a confident team come into the year, and they'll be maybe a little more equipped to start fast, as opposed to have to respond to a couple early losses.
All right, let's take a look at the Abilene schedule for 2021. I look at the schedule kind of in the same way I look at Cooper's schedule. It's got significant challenges, nothing overwhelming though. It's tough enough to get you ready for district. It also gives you a shot at getting some wins.
I agree. And the thing I like about that schedule, and this is something I think that they do intentionally every year, is you're going to see a lot of different styles. You're going to see in that opener against Tescosa, who they've played quite a bit in the recent past. And that's always a very competitive game. You're facing an option team, and then you go from that to a Cooper team that's going to run that power spread. I think you're going to see a lot of different styles to get you ready for that district schedule. When you're talking about the Little Southwest Conference, you're in for a difficult district, slog. You're going to face a lot of really good teams that all have a lot of tradition, that all really bring a lot of intensity into these games, just because almost every single one of them is a rivalry game. So I think that it's a good non-district schedule that gives Abilene High a chance to have some success, to get some confidence. But I think more importantly than anything, it gives them a chance to see a lot of different styles, so that they go into that district schedule prepared for anything that they're going to face.
All right, game of the year for Abilene. How do you see it? What's going to be the one big game on their ledger that you see? Well, they're going to have several, but what's the biggest?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say at this point. Just for me, I'll just go probably with that opener at Odessa Permian. That was a game that last year Abilene High gets off to an 0-3 start and are able to upset Permian. That kind of jump started their season. That kind of got them going in a positive direction. I think that's going to be an important game again this year. Permian's been a really strong program in recent years, and I think that win last year was one that was really important to him. So I think that it's going to be. You're not going to be surprising anybody this year. You're going to go in facing a Permian team that remembers last year and wants to take care of that. So I think that will go a big way. That will go a long way, rather, in terms of setting the tempo for the rest of districts, particularly considering that you have a Midland Legacy team after that that's going to be very good, as they always are.
I agree with you. My game of the year for Abilene will be the opener at Odessa Permian. If that is a game that they can win, they can come back home with some momentum. And that legacy game suddenly is one that they can take a shot at rather than, try to win. And if you lose at Permian, then suddenly you got to beat Legacy to avoid an 0-2 start. So that Permian game is, if they can win that, that's very valuable for them. Then the pressure's off when you face Legacy as an underdog.
Yeah, I agree. And the one good thing for them, regardless, is after those first two games, the schedule does lighten quite a bit. You get three pretty winnable games against Friendship, Odessa High, and Midland High before wrapping up against what's typically a pretty tough Central team. So I think
that Central game in the season finale, that's going to be a big one also.
Yeah,
so.
And that's the thing in this district that they all can kind of be big. It just depends on kind of where Abilene High stands at the time. So I mean, if you're playing to get into the playoffs in that last week against Central, which has been the case a time or two, then that game becomes big. But if it's for seeding, it's also big. So I think a lot just will be determined by the start that Abilene High gets off to. Because if they can go out and beat a Permian on the road, all of a sudden I think they do kind of make a statement that, hey, we're here to compete.
They beat Permian on the road to start things off. They're in far better shape.
Yeah, definitely.
Far better shape. You could be looking at an 0-2 start if they do not win that ball game.
Yeah.
And you don't want to get off to an 0-2 district start. So
No, not at all.
All right, that's going to wrap it up for tonight's edition of the Countdown to Two-A-Day series, our final installment in the series for 2021. And we appreciate you following along because now we're jumping into two-a-days. They're starting mañana, and I'm looking forward to it. We'll be out there. Dan and I will be out there, cameras in hand, roaming throughout the big country and taking as many photos as we possibly can to get ready for the season.
Absolutely. Football is here, and we thank you for checking out all of our episodes of their Countdown to Two-A-Day series. And make sure you tune in this season. We're going to have lots of great content here at bigcountrypreps.com.